Good morning, everyone. Happy Wednesday. Welcome to our 10 a.m. virtual education program. My name is Rachel, education specialist here at the Topeka Zoo, and today we are going to be covering our final first grade lesson. Now, before we get started, I would like to thank our sponsors, Topeka Collegiate and the Kokari Foundation, for sponsoring these programs. We appreciate it. So for today's lesson, in first grade, over the past few weeks, we have been talking all about animals and how they are different. Well, today, our final lesson is going to be talking about how individual animals, even within the same species, the same type of animal, can be different, and they can vary from one animal to the next. So, I want to talk about this, and then we are going to meet the keeper of two of our very big, very cute animals at the Topeka Zoo. So when we're talking about individual animals, we are talking about the differences that you might see in the same species or the same type. So the first example I want to talk about is a type of bird that we have in Kansas. This is an eastern screech owl, and as you can see, there are two different colors that eastern screech owls come in. Now we have this red color, which is called the rufous morph, and we have this gray color, which is the gray morph. Now what's crazy about this type of screech owl is that these are the same species. They are not distinct in terms of their genetics. But one of them is red and the other one is gray. So eastern screech owls simply come in two different colors. So sometimes they come in this red color, and scientists have found that the red screech owls oftentimes like trees that are a little bit more red in color, and the gray screech owls like trees that are a little bit grayer in color. But both of these are the exact same type of animal. Kind of like a Labrador. If you have a lab at your house, Labrador dogs, they come in chocolate, they come in yellow, they come in black. All three of those are the same type of dog, they just come in different colors. That is the same with this species of screech owl. Now there are other animals that come in different colors as well. Some animals in the animal kingdom actually don't have any coloring at all. These are what we call albino animals. And albino animals, they don't have any pigmentation, which is the fancy word for coloring of their skin or their fur if they have fur, and their eyes. So what I have here on the top is a picture of an alligator who is an albino. That means they were born without any coloring in their skin. Now you can find albino animals in many different animal groups: mammals, birds, reptiles, amphibians, and fish. We have seen examples of animals who are born without any coloration in their skin. So this is a pretty rare thing for an animal to be born as an albino without any coloring, but it does happen in the animal kingdom. So in this clutch of eggs, one alligator might have been born out as an albino with no coloring, and all of its siblings might have had the normal coloration for an alligator. So this is another example of where individual animals are born differently and look differently, even different from their siblings and different from others in their species. So albinos is one way that animals can vary based on individuals. Now on the flip side of that is a really interesting coloration. It's called melanism. And that's just a fancy word for saying animals whose predominant color, whose major color is the black or the brown. So this animal on the bottom, when I was younger, I thought black panthers were their own type of animal. But black panthers do not actually exist. When you see an all black large cat like this is actually a jaguar or a leopard who has been born with all black and brown coloration. It is called melanism. So this is actually a black jaguar. So maybe its mom had one that was all black and one that was regular colored, but it is not a separate cat species. It is simply one who was born with all black and brown coloring. So this is a black jaguar, and this is a regular colored jaguar. Now, with albinos, like this alligator, they oftentimes do not survive well in the wild. One, because they don't have any coloring on their body, they are sensitive to the sunlight. Two, they don't camouflage. They don't blend in with their background, so predators can find them pretty easily. And three, for animals who are social, sometimes being a different color like this, they actually get kicked out of their animal group, which is sad. But on the other hand, big cats, like our black jaguar here, who are all black, who are melanistic, they can oftentimes survive in the wild because this dark coloring, they are still camouflaged some. So these animals have a better chance of surviving than an albino. But both are excellent examples of individual differences between the same types of animal. Now, if you haven't already guessed it, today we are going to be talking about our Topeka Zoo black bears. And the reason we are talking about our black bears is because black bears come in 6 different colors. Our 2 black bears at the Topeka Zoo, one is black and one is brown. And I know that's kind of silly. They're called a black bear. Why aren't they black? That's just the name scientists gave them. Most of them are black, but some of them are brown. And the other 4 colors that they can come in are cinnamon, a silver blue, which I think is absolutely beautiful, a white or a kermode coloring, and a blonde. So although black bear says black, they can actually be one of 6 different colors. And the coloration, it just has to do with the DNA, the genes inside their body as they're growing in mom's stomach. So it's nothing that the animal can change. So before we meet our black bears and talk to their keeper, I do have a little bit of something that first graders can do at home. As we talked about, many pets like dogs, they can come in different colors, different shapes, different sizes. Same with cats or any other type of pet you have at home. So what I want my friends at home to do, if you are in first grade, is to interview an animal friend. It could be a pet that you have in your home. It could be an animal you see outside, or maybe a pet from a family member. I want you guys to write out what the pet is. Is it a cat? Is it a dog? Is it a gerbil? Make a sketch of that animal and then learn about it. What is its name, its age, its color? How big does it get? On the back, there are questions like its favorite food, its favorite toy, its favorite place to be and things to do. All of these make each individual animal that we meet unique. They are different from one another. So it's not just the way that animals look on an individual level that make them different. It's also how they act and things that they like and they don't like. As always, take a picture and put it in the comments. So my friends, I would like to introduce you to the keeper of our black bears. His name is Tracy, and he is going to introduce us to Val, who is our brown colored black bear, and Indy, who is our black colored black bear. So Tracy, if you could please talk about our girls.
Hi there, I'm Tracy, one of the keepers that takes care of the bears over here. Rachel, you're going to be a tough act to follow, but I'll do my best. All right. So with that said, right now you may not be able to see him, but we have Val, which is kind of our cinnamon color bear, black bear, and then we have Indy, which is the traditional looking black bear with the black color. So Val is the bigger of the two. They're both females. They're both 6 years old, so they have some similarities in that regard. Where that stops is in their coloring. So Val used to be a blonde color, lighter than what she is now. Over the past couple years, she's actually darkened as she comes out of torpor in the winter and out in the spring, where she starts to wake up and eat. So right now, Val being bigger, of course, she's around 260, 280 pounds. And then Indy's around 220, 240. So that weight varies a little bit just because we haven't got a real recent weight on them. But Val is always heavier because, of course, she's bigger. And with that said, I mean, black bears can be different colors, from the extreme, the rare circumstance where they can actually be white. This is usually up into Canada where that happens. And they're actually known as spirit bears, the white black bears, so that's kind of cool. Doesn't happen very often, and they can be a bluish gray, cinnamon, blonde, black, so multiple colors. So yeah, if you can see that, that's Val on the far side. So what I did today is I spread their food out all throughout the yard. So this is just their regular diet. We try to do that as often as we can, pretty much every day, because that's what they do in the wild. We try to simulate that. Bears, once they wake up and it's springtime, their main mission is to eat. So they've used a lot of their fat reserve over the winter when they're sleeping for most of it, and now they just want to eat. That's their main drive, is just to eat. So we accommodate that. We also put some different toys and stuff like that in the yard. They're not super interactive with them, but Val more so than Indy. So you can definitely see different personalities with these bears. Indy, the black colored black bear, she's a little more easygoing. Bears are real smart. They're both smart. Val's a little more temperamental. We have to really be on our game when we're working with her. So when we do training or painting, we just have to kind of stay ahead of her. She gets frustrated easy, whereas Indy is more relaxed about things. So there's definite personality differences. And also, even with some of the food that they eat, Val will eat the fish right up. Indy, she has to ease into it. It takes getting into summer before she really gets that taste back for fish, which is one of the main factors of them putting fat on their bodies, is the fish. So that's important. They eat a lot of different vegetables and fruits, nuts. They just go crazy over that stuff. And then they also get like a bear chow, sorta in the neighborhood of dog food, but they really love it. It's actually called bear chow. So they'll even do things like lay out in the grass and just eat grass. Sometimes they'll grab different branches and kind of chew on the leaves a little bit. They do eat browse. Pear browse is one of the ones they really like to eat, which we do not have in the yard, but we give them that sometimes. Again, we just like to change it up so it's not always the same thing. And even with their diet, they get a lot of different seasonal fruits and stuff depending on what we have to give them. So it's always a variety. Apples is one of their favorite fruits, I might add. So we give them chopped up apples, and then we give them whole apples too, and they love them.
Excellent. And Tracy, could you talk a little bit about how we got Val and Indy? I know they're similar in age, but they're not related, right?
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up. So
Indy's over here if you want to
Indy,
shoot
which is kind of behind you here, she was actually found in Oregon. So both bears were rescues. So she had to be just pretty much a newborn. These guys, when bears are born, black bears are born, they weigh less than a pound. If you can imagine that, they'll fit in your hand. It's crazy to think, these girls will get around 300 pounds. Males can get 500 pounds pretty easy. Males are bigger. But yeah, Indy was found in Oregon. Unfortunately, something must have happened to her mother, and she actually had a peanut butter jar stuck on her nose. So it was a really cute story. Val was actually found in Anchorage, which you can definitely see some differences in that regard, where they're from originally. Val will go down into torpor much earlier into her sleep, much earlier in the fall than Indy does. A lot of that has to do with where they're from. So yeah, coincidentally, they're the same age, but they are not related. They're not siblings. So that's just the way it worked out. Bears typically don't live together in the wild like that. These guys, they do just fine together. you know, they'll kind of test their boundaries with each other as they wake up in the spring, and then after that, it's no problem.
Right.
So it's fun to see their interaction with them not being siblings. They get along real well.
Well, and they came in together as young cubs.
Yep.
I mean, not together, but they came in at the same time, and they
Yeah.
were raised over time kind of with each other.
Yeah, that's correct. I've seen some pictures with them together in our reserve yard, and they were just so small and tiny. So they did grow up together, which of course, you know, has significance with them getting along now.
So some of our guests at home have questions. The first one is, why are they so big?
Well, black bears are one of the apex predators from where they live. You know, as adults, they don't have to worry about anything other than humans trying to prey on them. So, unfortunately, black bears are not endangered, so that's a really good thing. There's roughly 800,000 of them in the wild, so yay for that. Unfortunately, they can be legally hunted in, I think it's 27 states. So about 50,000 black bears a year are hunted. So humans are their only nemesis, as with many animals. So once they get beyond the cub stage, they don't have much to worry about in regards of predators hunting them. But as cubs, they certainly do. Again, they're really, really small and can be easy prey for bigger predators.
So both of our girls are females, but somebody's asking if they will ever mate, if we'll ever pair them with a male to mate.
Yeah, I don't anticipate that will happen. We go by our AZA guidelines with our species survival program. Again, they're not endangered by any means, so I don't see that happening.
And Bianca and Cammie want to know, how can you tell if it's a male or a female? The size, right?
Yeah, you know, males are significantly bigger. Now, if it's a juvenile male, it may be very tough to tell. You know, there's differences you can see between a brown bear and a black bear, but a male and female is a little tougher, just depending if they're younger, older, and how good of a picture are you seeing of them. You know, that obviously is important too.
Eli wants to know, about how much weight do they lose when they are in torpor?
That's a good question. You know, it can be 60, 80 pounds. I'm trying to remember from fall time. Val is around 300, even a little more.
Oh, look, they're going up the trees.
Yeah. With you guys seeing that, Val does like to assert her dominance. So the cinnamon color one, Val, she is dominant over Indy, the black color one. It's all part of the process. I have never seen them even draw blood on each other. Sometimes it looks like it's a lot worse than what it is when we're looking at them, but that's just how they communicate, and Val's just reminding her, you know, who's boss.
Sorry, did you answer the weight question? I know we just got sidetracked. How much weight do they lose in torpor?
Yeah, so 60, 80 pounds.
Okay.
The best that I can remember. If I'd have thought about it, I should have got their last weight. So yeah, the best I can remember, I think it's 60 to 80 pounds,
Okay.
roughly.
Maggie wants to know, do our bears hang out with each other, or do they usually like to be by themselves?
Depends on the day. 2-3 days ago, both bears were up in that tree where you're seeing Indy right now. They were just laying down, relaxed as can be. I would say more often than not, they kind of do their own thing, separate from each other.
And can you talk a little bit about the tree that Indy's in? I know we always get a lot of phone calls about that.
Yeah. Well, we're hoping those trees hang on as long as they can. Obviously, the bears like them. Black bears are known to be good climbers, good swimmers too, for that matter. So they have no trouble going up and down a tree. When they're up there, you know, they're just very relaxed. They can see real well, which they have great vision, great hearing, you know, great smelling, all things better than us humans. So it just makes them feel more comfortable when they're up there. So we sincerely hope that tree will last, you know, years to come.
So Hannah asks, is there an albino bear? So there are white black bears, but
Yeah.
they also there have been a few cases of albino black bears as well. And one of the ways you can tell is that they have pink eyes, usually, which is different than the white ones.
Yes, yeah, it's pretty rare, but it is possible.
Bianca and Cammie want to know, how much do they eat as cubs?
Well, I mean, their mother typically will take care of them from 6 to 8 months, so just, mainly from her milk. And then after that, for example, right now, them being 6 years old, they get about a half a bucket of food, and that's going to only increase as the year goes on. So, I mean, as cubs, I can't really tell you, how much exactly. It's a fraction of what they're eating now. But again, they're going to be around a year old when they're starting to really eat a lot of produce and a little bit of fish even.
Mm-hmm.
So that's not a very good answer, but that's what I got for you.
Sure. And Casey wants to know, do they play a lot?
They don't. I've been working with these guys for a few years now, and I don't see a lot of play. Sometimes I'll see Val chasing Indy around the yard. Part of that might be play. Part of it is the dominance thing. We put a lot of different enrichment toys in there. And I just don't see them interact with them a whole lot for the most part.
And Linus wants to know, what do you do if you see one in the wild? I know we don't have black bears in Kansas, but farther up north,
Yeah.
do you know what you're supposed to do?
Well, that's a good question. Yeah, we haven't had black bears in Kansas since late 1800s, but if you do, so black bears are not aggressive. They're the smallest of the bear species, all of which are from North America. So what they're known to do is to do the mock charges. So they'll run at you, trying to see what you're going to do from that point. They're careful calculators, and they do think. They process information, and they do think. So the main thing, is to hold your ground, to not turn and run. These guys can hit speeds up to 30 miles an hour, so you're not going to outrun them. And of course, they have dangerous claws. They have a serious bite. So the last thing you want to do is turn and run. You try to walk away backwards, facing the bear, but not using direct eye contact. That's also important. Try to make yourself big. And another thing, believe it or not, that's helpful is to continuously talk. So they can calculate that, all right, this isn't any kind of animal. This isn't a prey animal. This animal's probably not going to hurt me. And as you talk and walk away, chances of eluding that situation is pretty high. Worst come to worst, you ball up and protect your head.
That's awesome. That was a great answer, Tracy. Thank you.
Sure.
What is their favorite toy? Do they have a toy that they enjoy?
Well, that's a good question. They really don't. Short answer, they really don't. They'll interact with stuff if there's food inside of it to get out, something like that. But just to interact, like there's a roller toy down below us. There was no food put in that, and Indy merely smelled it, and then that was it. I didn't even see Val do anything with it. So, not to draw it out too long, but they really don't have a favorite toy. They're just not real interactive with their toys.
Mm-hmm. Eli wants to know, are they expected to get much bigger, or is this how big they'll get?
Size-wise, yeah, this is how big they're going to get. Val just found her head of lettuce that I stashed way back in the corner.
Oh my gosh, look at that. That is so cute.
I try to make it challenging for them, but of course they're going to find it eventually. So yeah, they'll certainly put on weight. As I mentioned, their diet's going to increase more and more. Once we get into the fall, they get just almost a full 5-gallon bucket of food. So they'll obviously gain weight, which is what they're supposed to do, but size-wise, what you see is what you get now.
And Maggie wants to know, how tall are they when they stand up?
That's a good question. So Indy's about 5 feet. right around that, maybe a little bit over, and Val's actually about 6 feet.
Huh.
I have to look up a little bit when she stands up. Black bears are also known for that. I mean, brown too, but they will stand up, which both bears actually did just earlier this morning, and it just gives them a wider range, field of vision range. They don't do it a whole lot, but if you see that, it's not necessarily that they're trying to intimidate you, they're just trying to get a better view.
Sure. And somebody asked, how much do they weigh as adults? I know you said this already. Males can get up to 500 pounds?
Yeah.
Okay.
You know, they can get bigger, but typically 500 range, females 300 range.
Mm-hmm.
Val's no exception. You know, she got, I think it was 320 or so, if I remember correctly. Indy has not quite made it to 300, but just like with us humans, some black bears are just bigger than other black bears.
Mm-hmm. And somebody asked, if there's a hunter around, will they attack hunters?
Well, they are smart and are able to process information, but I don't know that they actually recognize that, you know, that human has a gun, I may be in danger. If they get scared, typically what they're going to do is run away, so I don't think that they would just go randomly attack a hunter.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that would happen. You know, bears remember things, you know, anything from, hey, springtime, this area here has the best fruit. They'll come back to that every spring. The same could be said with people. If they're in an area where they're used to being endangered by humans hunting, they will remember that information, and that could change my answer.
Mm-hmm. And somebody asked, what's the biggest bear species?
Biggest bear, polar bear. Yeah, those guys are monsters. I think 11 feet tall or so.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
And what are their names? Could you remind them of their names?
Yep. Cinnamon colored bear is Val, and the black colored black bear is Indy.
Right, which is short for valor and independence, right?
Thank you. Yep, it is. I hardly ever say that, but thanks for bringing that up.
Yeah, not a problem. And do the cubs play when they're younger?
They absolutely play. That's how they figure a lot of things out in their bear life, just by playing. Yeah, very playful.
And somebody asked if these are adults or babies.
Yeah, they are adults, 6 years of age.
And what's their lifespan?
Roughly in the 20-year range.
Okay.
Yeah.
And somebody asked earlier, why? When's the zoo opening?
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow,
but
right?
Be members only, and of course, there's going to be a lot of stipulations.
And then we'll sell actual tickets starting on Monday to the first 500 guests.
You got it.
And I'm just going back through, making sure we hit all the questions real quick. So you said earlier that we're not going to breed these, but if these girls did have, I mean, could they have babies potentially?
Yeah, they absolutely could. You know, it's most common for females to have 2 cubs. They could have up to about 6, but that's unusual. 2 is pretty normal, and they only reproduce every other year.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, because they're with their mom for several months. Huh.
Yep.
All right, so just looking to see if we have any final questions.
Yep. Good questions. Thanks for asking all of them.
A lot of people are saying they're so cute and adorable. There was one woman that said you were cute too. It was your wife.
Oh.
Alrighty, well, I think that is the end of our questions. Eli and Maggie want to know, is it common for them to have twins?
It is not. Yeah, it's not. I forget what I was gonna say. That's all right.
Okay. Alrighty, well, Tracy, thank you so much for teaching us about our black bears today. Thank you at home for watching, and we will be back tomorrow for a 2nd grade lesson on pollination and seed dispersal. So we'll see you guys back here tomorrow. Thank you so much.
Thanks for joining us.